Welcome back everyone. I hope you're enjoying the crochet along so far. This week we're going to be learning our new stitches for week 2. So let me show you. So we're going to be jumping straight into the loop stitch, and here we have the loop stitch here in the lovely olive colour. This is a really fun stitch. It's one of my favourite stitches. It looks much harder than it actually is to crochet. It is basically the same as crocheting a double crochet, but you're leaving a loop behind. Don't forget, you can watch my how-to videos to help you along with that stitch if you're unsure. Then we're moving on to the lovely lemon peel stitch, and you can see it in the damson purple colour here. Again, I really love the texture of the lemon peel stitch. It's a really sturdy stitch and I think it looks really cosy. We've got a few bobbles in there which you've already previously learned in week 1. And then we're moving on to the fee stitch, which is a really fun stitch. I love the way the ivory pops out against the bronze in the blanket here. And then we're moving on to some triple crochet stitches, but this time we're going to be working the triple crochet stitches differently. We're going to be working some rows working into back loops only and some rows working into front loops only. And you can see a lovely ridged effect, which reminds me of when you're looking at a leaf and you see the ridged effects in the leaves. So hooks at the ready, and I'll see you after the how-tos. So now we're moving on to your loop stitch rows. Now this is a really fun stitch to do. Well, I think it's fun anyway. When you move on to your loop stitch rows, you will be completing yours in the olive colour. I've done mine here in the bronze colour just to show you. And let's start. So here we go, bronze ball. So let's join our new yarn colour. Now loop stitch is basically rows of double crochet but leaving a loop on your hook. So we're going to start like we would start a double crochet row. So chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and then we're going to turn our work. A loop stitch is worked on the wrong side. So in the very first stitch we're going to begin with just 1 double crochet. And then in the next stitch we're going to start our first loop stitch. Again, like I said, it is basically the same as doing a double crochet but leaving a loop. So we're going to insert our hook, then we're going to pull up our yarn on our finger like so, and then we're going to bring our hook behind the yarn and gather a loop and pull that through. And then we want to push the little loop down, yarn over and bring through the 3 loops on your hook. Let's try that again. Okay, so we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, and we're going to bring up a loop with our finger like so, and then we're going to bring our hook, wrap our hook around the back of the yarn, loop it through, let go of your loop, yarn over and pull through those 3 loops on your hook. Let's try again. So yarn over, bring up a loop with your finger, wrap your crochet hook around the back, bring it through, let go of your loop, yarn over, keep repeating this process until the end of the row. You keep watching how I do it here. So insert your hook, bring up a loop on your finger, wrap around with your crochet hook, pull it through, yarn over, again, if you get stuck, feel free to pause the video and re-watch. You can make your loops as big or as small as you like, all depending on how far you pull up the loop with your finger. So it's basically the same process as a double crochet, but you're leaving a loop behind. So you should be getting towards the end of your row now, and you're going to finish the last stitch with a double crochet. Okay, and then you should have, if you turn your work, one row of loop stitches. Now you need to do one more row of loop stitches. Before we do that, we need to do one row of double crochet stitches. Like I said, the loop stitch is worked from the wrong side, so if you make a loop stitch on the right side, you won't see it. So one row of double crochet stitches, there we go, and now you're ready to start your second row of loop stitches. And again, it is basically working the same as a double crochet row, so you chain one, doesn't count as a stitch, and turn. Okay, and in the first stitch you work one double crochet, and then you move on to your loop stitch again. So let me show you one more time. So you insert your hook, pull up a loop with your finger, wrap around with your crochet hook, pull through, let go of your loop and yarn over. And you continue this process until the end of the row. So some people do their loop stitches slightly differently, but this is how I find it easier doing it this way. You just have to be careful that you don't get your hook tangled in the loop stitches below. So coming towards the end of the row, and just remember on your very last stitch of the row to just work one double crochet. And there we have it, 2 rows of loop stitch. Okay, so now we are ready for lemon peel stitch. Okay, and when you first come to the lemon peel stitch in your blanket, you will be doing it in the damson colour, but today I'm going to show you how to make it in the claret colour. Okay, so are we ready? So here's my sample from earlier. So let's join our yarn. Now we're going to start the lemon peel stitch with a double crochet stitch. So we chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch. And we're going to work a double crochet stitch into the first stitch. So yarn over, pull 3 2 loops on your hook. And the next stitch we're going to work as a triple stitch. So yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull 3 2 loops, yarn over, pull 3 2 loops. Okay, and then the next stitch we're going to work as a double crochet stitch. And the next stitch a triple stitch. So we're going to repeat this step. So triple crochet stitch, double crochet stitch, triple crochet stitch, double crochet stitch, all the way to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm now on a double crochet stitch. Double crochet stitch, triple crochet stitch. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch of my row, and on my last stitch it's going to finish with a double crochet, with a triple crochet stitch, sorry. So because it's finished with a triple crochet stitch, when I'm going to move on to row 2, I want to start with a double crochet stitch. So that means I'm going to chain 1. You always chain 1 on a double crochet row, which doesn't count as a stitch. So I'm going to work a double crochet on top of the triple crochet stitch from the row below. There we go. And then the next stitch from the row below is a double crochet stitch. And so with the lemon peel stitch, you always work a triple stitch into the top of a double crochet stitch. And then the next stitch, you can see here, because it's slightly taller than the stitch next to it, is a triple crochet stitch. So I'm going to work a double crochet stitch into the triple crochet stitch. And you just repeat that until the end of the row. So the main thing is with this stitch is working double crochet stitches onto triple crochet stitches and triple crochet stitches on top of the double crochet stitches until you get to the end of the row. So if you finish your row with a triple crochet stitch, you're always going to start with the lemon peel stitch, your next row with a double crochet stitch, which means you will chain 1 as a turning chain. But if you finish the row on a double crochet stitch, you're going to start the next row with a triple crochet stitch, which means that you will chain 2 as your starting chain. And you basically repeat this process until you finish your lemon peel stitch rows. Okay, so we are now moving on to the fee stitch. Here is my sample. So when your first row of fee stitches will be in the bronze colour, moving on to the ivory, and then another row of bronze. I think you've got some damson, and later on you'll be doing the fee stitch in the forest green. So I've just showing you my sample here. So let me show you how to do it. Here's my sample from earlier. Now let's begin the V-stitch. So let's grab our yarn. So I'm starting in ivory, so let's attach our yarn. The V-stitch is worked as a triple crochet stitch, so we need to chain 2 at the beginning of that row. That doesn't count as a stitch. Then turn your work. Now in the very first stitch, which is here, we're going to work 2 triple crochets. So 1 triple crochet, 2 triple crochets, and then we're going to miss the next stitch and work 2 triple crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2. Again, miss the next stitch and 2 triple crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, and continue this process along your row. Okay, I'm just going to work 1 triple crochet into my last stitch. And there you should have 1 row of V-stitches. Okay, so now I'm going to add a new colour. So I'm just going to grab my scissors. So I'm going to add the dams in, and we're going to create the V look, because if you see in each of these stitches, each 2 triples, we've made a little V. Okay, so let's get our hook, join our new colour. Again, it's a triple crochet stitch that we're making, so we're going to chain 2, doesn't count as a stitch, and turn our work. So I'm just going to do a triple crochet in that first stitch, and then we're going to work into the centre of our little V stitches that we've made. So we're going to work between the 2 triple crochet stitches of each row. So insert your hook into the centre and work 2 triple crochet stitches. And then into the next V stitch, work into the centre here. Work another 2 triple crochet stitches, 1, 2, and then the same into the next V stitch, 1, 2, and as you can see here, we're creating little V's. Repeat this process to the end of your row. My last V stitch. There we go, we have 2 rows of V stitch in ivory and downs. carry on. Some of the V-stitch rows, you don't change your yarn, you continue in the same colour, but that's how you do the V-stitch. And now we're going to do some more triple crochet rows, but we're going to work them slightly differently this time. We're going to work the triple crochet rows working into the back loops only in one row, and then the following row working into the front loops. So let me show you how to do that. So here's a little sample I made earlier. You will begin with one row of triple crochets, and we've already gone through that, so hopefully you will know how to do that now. So now, once you've done your one row of triple crochets, you turn your work again, we chain 2, doesn't count as a stitch. And on this row, we're going to work into the front loops only. So insert your hook. You'll see up here you've got the little V stitches. You're just going to be working into this front one. So insert your hook into the front stitch and continue like you would a triple crochet. So insert your hook into that front stitch. And just follow this pattern into the end of your row. It can be a little bit tricky just getting it in that front stitch. But what you're creating is a little ribbed effect there, if you can see. So I'm just getting to the end of my row. So I'm in my last stitch, and then I'm going to chain 2 because we're still working triple crochet stitches. I'm going to turn my work, and this time we're going to work a triple crochet stitch into the first stitch, but we're going to work it through the back loop. So if you turn your work there, you'll see that's your stitch. So we're going to work it into this back loop here. So yarn over and insert into the back loop. And we're going to do that in every stitch. So work 1 triple stitch into the back loop of every stitch. And we're creating a lovely ribbed effect. So continue this to the end of your row. Oops. So you will continue this for another few rows in the olive colour. And there we have it, front and back loop triple crochet. So this week you'll have around 40 rows to crochet. Do it at your own pace. Enjoy the stitches, especially the loop stitch, and I shall see you next week.